yet. You see these pistols? They need to turn into missiles. They need to be perfect.
Well, that's good. Okay, so Gaston, I need you to make a decision. What do you think about these?
Do those look like the jacket he's wearing? It needs to be perfect.
Leslie, you can deal with that then. 3 minutes to air, everyone. Where's Quentin?
Hey, how much do you think I could get for these?
Why do you want to sell your jewelry?
Because it's not giving me the personal achievement it once did. I want to start my own charity. Be perfect.
Okay, well, you can do that. Where's Quentin? 2 minutes. Quentin? What are you wearing?
I just got back from vacation. They said I look perfect.
Okay, honestly, that's fine.
That's the shirt I want.
I have some jewelry that would go great with that.
Guys, 2 minutes to air. We have to go. Come on, let me go.
It'll be perfect.
Coming up on the show, it's to be perfect. From living in an ethnically diverse
I recorded that
society
on the Zoom mic,
pursuit of
so
a perfect body to our own personal achievements. Stay tuned as Interliving breaks down perfection.
Yeah. Hello and welcome to Interliving, the idea of different individuals with different ideas coming together and coexisting. I'm Crystal Davine.
I'm Maluba Habaniyama.
I'm Gaston Calzado.
And I'm Quentin Bignall. Today we're talking perfection, and I'm curious, how would you guys define perfection?
Well, I'd say perfection is as simple as just having your life sorted out, really. You know, the dream job, happiness with friends and family. How about you, Crystal?
Okay, well, you guys know I'm a little bit of a perfectionist.
Yes.
So for me, it's just doing the best that you possibly can in everything that you do, whether it's working on a project or the way that you do your hair, makeup, clothes before I leave the house, which is something that usually makes me late all the time, but anyways, that's a whole other conversation.
Honestly, I think perfection will be getting my diploma this year and really just continuing to cover projects that I'm really passionate about.
For me, it's as simple as perfect health, perfect skin, and independence. What about you? How do you define perfection?
We're all in competition with each other all of the time. And so if there's a perceived level of perfection, we will feel like it'll be gratifying if we get there.
To me, perfection is whatever I deem makes me happy.
Perfection for me is, to be honest, is basically anyone who I would see with flaws, because I feel like being human could be the most perfect thing.
So the fact is that everything we do from the time we wake up to the time we go to bed, we see images of perfection, right? We see these images of perfection, and those images are body images, but also success, right? So we're inundated with images of the successful person, and what does a successful person look like? They have a perfect job, they have a perfect spouse, they have a perfect body, they drive a perfect car, they live in a perfect neighborhood, they have perfect families. And so then we become obsessed with this idea that we too could have perfection.
Perfection is just being me, being authentic, my flaws, and the good side of me.
I find that perfection is not attainable, but maybe the pursuit of it is something healthy.
And then if we talk about perfection in the rest of our life, so the illusion of wealth, right? So there's a theorist that calls it conspicuous consumption. So the fact is we purchase the illusion of wealth. So whether it's the clothes that we wear, that we save, or the purse that we're carrying, or the house that we live in, or the car that we drive. And so from the outside in, we look like we're this perfect picture, when in fact we know we're the most indebted we've ever been. So people owe a lot of money. No one owns their house. No one owns the car. The bank owns it all. And we're strapped to our very thinnest point trying to pay all of that off, but yet we still circle in this, right? Like going on vacations. Somehow everybody can afford to go on a vacation now, but what no one really pays attention to is that that's because their credit card debt is astronomical. And so I would say that we go to some pretty extreme lengths for this idea of perfection. And one step further than that, I think that parents now, we want for our children, so really your generation, we want you to do better than we did. And with that, we put all kinds of stress on you to aim for a different level of perfection. So we do things like, now you need to go to school and you need to be career driven. But on top of that, you should probably go to some extra learning place like Kumon Learning Center, because your grades aren't quite high enough. You should have 95s, not just 90s. And then we want you to do volunteer work, because we know if you volunteer, you're more likely to get a job. But we also want you to play sports, and we want you to take a second language, and we want you to take music or some other cultural thing. And that's a lot of pressure on, like, how are you supposed to do all of those things? So now you're, from very young, trying to reach this level of, I have to be the best at everything that there is.
Well, to be honest, the first thing that usually comes to my mind is mostly perspective. The way I look at perfection, it seems to be more of a man-made sort of view that we kind of set upon ourselves to see what's acceptable and what isn't in today's society, usually.
In other cultures, the idea of being a stay-at-home mom, for instance, for your whole life is not appealing to women whatsoever, and so that's not perfect. That doesn't even come close to a perfect ideal. But also, perfection in body appearances, what is attractive changes in different cultures, right? So, if you're, especially, let's face Black women and white women. There's a really good contradiction right there, right? So, a couple years ago, the sexiest thing to be was skinny, skinny, skinny. The skinniest you could be, like almost anorexic skinny. That was what the ideal model looked like. We have now moved to a point where the ideal model is a white woman with a Black woman's body, right? So I want you to think about Nicki Minaj's body, Kim Kardashian's body, like those sort of voluptuous bodies that are culturally usually associated with Black women's bodies. So how insane is it that now our new ideals of beauty are almost an impossible mixture to have? But we're taking little cultural pieces and saying, now this is perfect. It's impossible. You can't get that level of perfect unless you have surgery, right? So we're always globalization and the fact that we mix cultures, which is a really great thing, that we have lots of different cultures everywhere. But it's also opened up this idea that somehow we're now mixing what perfection is. And so, for instance, to be a Black woman living in a primarily white culture, very difficult to get to that level of perfection, right? Your hair can never get straight enough, your skin can never get light enough. But to now flip it into this place where white women are trying to appropriate Black culture is also like, your booty's never gonna get there, honey. It's just not going to. Right? But it's an interesting thing to actually pay attention to how this is happening in the world around us now.
I think Sarah Cummings said it perfect when she said how we're inundated with images of the successful person, and we've kind of become obsessed with the idea of chasing perfection in that life. It's really all around us from such a young age.
Yeah, I think our daily influences play a huge part on what our view of perfection is. Even like, for example, for me, a perfect lifestyle is having a comfortable sized home, but a massive garage full of cars. And then for my friends, it's the exact opposite, right?
Yeah, I mean, going off what Quentin said, seeing all those images constantly, for example, like Facebook, you see posts like, I just got a new car, here are the keys to my new place, and it gets to a point where you're wondering, like, why can't I have that? Like, where did I go wrong? And seeing that all the time, it does a number on you, I think.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot more of like seeing and not actually what you feel. I mean, I grew up as the chubby Black African girl. I was the only Black girl in my class, and I was overweight. They called me Beluga Whale instead of Beluga.
It's terrible.
Oh, it's okay. I mean, I host a talk show now. And now that I'm much thinner, people make comments about how too small I am. So it's like you can never please anybody. And I think a large part of perfection does go to our looks, for sure. From the way you do your makeup, the way you do your hair, what you wear, it all goes back to that.
Yep.
Yep.
I totally
Can't agree more.
Mm-hmm.
I think of style.
I would say the word comes to mind is trendy.
For me personally, I like Harajuku and like Japanese style fashion and just things from different cultures, kind of interesting, unique. It's a way to be different from other people, but I also value comfort. So
When I think of fashion, runways, Marc Jacob, and so many other names like Chanel, even Gwen Stefani is our last name? Yeah.
Kanye West.
To me, fashion is not about being tall or like being skinny or having like specific proportions. It's about being yourself and having your unique style.
Have you ever wondered what it takes to be beautiful? I mean, for me, like Mila Kunis is the epitome of beauty.
Yeah.
You and every other guy. You know what? I think she is beautiful, but I also like her sense of style as well.
For sure.
I think that beauty is such a vague word, and it really varies from movie stars like Mila Kunis all the way to fashion models like David Beckham, who's definitely an example of that.
Yeah, well, I think I'm one of the only people that recognizes David Beckham as an athlete and not as a fashion model.
Oh, then you must have not seen David Beckham's H&M ads, okay?
When it comes to fashion models, the people we asked had a lot to say on the topic. Let's take a look.
Oh yeah, that's just what you said.
So, yeah, I mean, back in the day, like for me growing up, fashion wasn't much of an issue for me. I just kind of used to throw on sweatpants and a t-shirt, and that was it. That was my entire fashion, and now it's so much more difficult.
Guys are so lucky that way that they can just throw on anything.
I literally threw all of my sweatpants in grade 6, so personally, I don't know about that, but I think that the fashion industry is essentially it's a bunch of people trying to put other people in categories that they don't necessarily belong in, and I think it's kind of savage, to be honest with you.
I agree. For me, I'm thinking like with keeping up with all the trends that we're constantly seeing coming out, it can be expensive, and sometimes whatever looks good on a model doesn't necessarily look good on you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's really true.
So yeah, speaking of fashion models and stuff like that, I actually had the chance to sit down with Syed Sohaili and Jerry Ali Thompson, who spoke to me for a while about fashion. Really cool. So let's check it out.
Beauty in 2016 is a very vague word because of the broad range of definitions it may have.
Great body, curvy girls, and it goes to the bigger girl, and it goes back down to skinny girls, and it goes to, you know, it just changes all the time. But, you know, as it stands, the model has to have a certain body type, I guess.
A staggering stat that most people don't know about is 87% of models are Caucasian, 6% are black, 6% are Asian, and 1% are only Latin.
It's changed over the years, but at the end of the day, we're still looking for size 0, the perfect body to walk down that runway. If you're not perfect for the Milan runway or the London runway, then you are not going to work in fashion, right?
INTERLIVING finds out what it's really like to work as a fashion model and public figure in the fashion industry.
Here to give us insight and answers to those questions, Syed Sohail, a fashion blogger for tpgstyle.com, who's also known as the Prep Guy, and from London, England, model Jerry Ali Thompson. Thank you both so much for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
You can check out more about our guests at tpgstyle.com, and you can also search Jerry Ali on any sort of social media and find her stuff there. So I'm going to start off with you, Syed. So you both have an insider's perspective on the industry. Can you tell us what the fashion industry's view of perfection is?
The fashion industry, their view of perfection is definitely looking flawless every day, being slim. You have to dress up all the time. They don't picture you not being dressed up at all. So that's really what they expect from people in the industry.
Anything to add, Jerry?
The way I see it is almost as if the fashion industry perspective changes by season. On a model's perspective, even aesthetically, one minute they kind of like a model with a dark grungy look, then they want the model who's happy and smiley. This is only from a model's perspective because that's the only way I see the industry. But at the same time, yes, on a typical base, you're expected to look glamorous, beautiful, clear skin, and awesome every point of the day, which I feel like isn't really that realistic for a regular person.
So Jerry, what have you learned in the years that you've been in the fashion industry?
I've learned that being yourself and not trying to be what the industry expects you to be is the best way to be.
So going off the back of that, what are the challenges of perfection that you're facing?
I would say typically for fashion, I don't really fall into that category of exactly what a black model should look like. Um, it's a little bit of a touchy subject, but for me, I just personally feel like I don't fall into that and I face certain problems when it comes to that. Or, for example, with the grudgy and edgy kind of vibe going on here in London, they sometimes people don't believe I fall under that when I feel like you dress me the right way and I can pull it off. But some people don't. So I feel like that's kind of what it is trying to fit everyone's perfect spectrum of what they're looking for, but you can't. So it's just kind of being yourself, being confident with it, and loving yourself enough and making everyone else believe, yeah, she's a great model, she can do this.
So Syed, what are your thoughts on this? Is there any challenges of perfection that you face?
Definitely. You have to make sure that all your photos come out perfectly. You have to make sure it comes out quickly. You have to make sure that the brand's happy, but also your viewers are happy. And you have to make sure, being a blogger, the photo is everything. Even for models, but they also do more like catwalks and runways as well. But for us, it's just photos, and everything has to be well filtered, well edited. It has to look perfect, but on the go, very quickly.
So what do you think, Syed, the beauty standards are in this industry?
Definitely the beauty standards are being slimmer. I think that's definitely the main standard that they have, or having a specific build. I feel like models or even fashion people in general, they all are super skinny, and they have to be able to fit in different styles and be able to change up their look and look amazing while doing it.
And to go off the back of that, Jerry, do you think the beauty standards will ever change? This will be your last question.
I'm hopeful that they will, and I really hope they do change. You see a slow change already, as far as campaigns including other ethnicities, whether as well as just people more embracing other cultures, which I think is really nice. So I hope we keep pushing forward with that, and we keep pushing the boundaries as far as body image goes, and we just break down all these barriers, because the real world doesn't have those type of barriers. When you're in your neighborhood, you have all types of people. So I'm just hoping the media can finally reflect what real world is.
Right. So I'd just like to thank the both of you so much for joining us. It really means a lot to us. You can learn more about our guests at tpgstyle.com, and you can also check out Jerry Alley on any sort of social media. If you want to learn more about our show on perfection, make sure you check out our website, INTERLIVING TV. Also follow us on Twitter at INTERLIVING TV. Thank you for joining us.
Well, I think it's safe to say that we all have a different idea of what perfection means. Something I think especially that journalism has taught me is that when you're talking about a collective of people who have different ages, experiences, and traditions, how do you generalize what perfection really means? We posed the question of what diversity means in a multicultural society, and these were the responses we got back.
Personally, I believe that there is no such thing as perfection. We're all going to be chasing that goal, that dream, and you can never be perfect at something.
Everyone gets along with other people's culture, and there's no conflict between religions and stuff. Everyone respects other people's culture.
Because my parents, growing up as an Asian family, usually they have higher expectations from my expectations, where their expectation is they go above and beyond, but where my expectation is if I meet the minimum requirements, you have to be yourself. I mean that the world's always saying that everything has to be perfect, but it's not perfect. What perfect means to me is that in the end of the day, if you do a good job and you feel like you did it right, that's why I call perfect.
Perfection is really something that you can't just define from one perspective. I mean, one of the defining aspects of Canada is our diversity.
That's true, but you know, Quentin, you're a white man who was born and raised in Canada. No shade, no shade. You have to understand. I mean, I'm an African Catholic girl, and so I don't really, you know, I'm in the midst of battling my culture's view of perfection, which I don't fit, and then I also don't fit the North American view of perfection. You know, I've even been told that I have to change my name. What about you two?
Well, I mean, I'm from Uruguay, which is South America, and a lot of people tend to think that I'm usually European. So whenever I'm speaking Spanish in public, even other Latino people get shocked that this European-looking guy is speaking Spanish.
Well, one of my favorite things about Canada is just how multicultural it is, and a perfect example is us. We all come from different backgrounds.
Yes, and I actually love that you touched on that a little bit because we are all from different places, and I think it is one of the greatest defining aspects.
Yep.
Worldwide, Canada is known for being culturally and ethnically diverse. It's one of our defining aspects of the country. But with so many different ethnicities, cultures creating a shifting demographic, how is our idea of perfection changing? For many immigrants, moving to Canada will be the most difficult decision they have ever had to make. Canada is one of the most diverse countries in the world, and in 1971 it became the first country to adopt multiculturalism as an official policy. But in such a diverse country, how is perfection defined?
There shouldn't be limitations on what perfect is. It should really kind of be individualistic and whatever makes that person feel at their best, right?
Canada is a vibrant cultural mosaic. However, many immigrants still continuously struggle to adapt. The perfection of diversity is in recognizing that our differences are our source of strength. To give us a perspective about how pressures of perfection impact multicultural communities, we are joined by Daisy Wang, Sharinda E. Darasinghe, and Young-hee Kwan, 3 international students who are here to speak about their experience of living in a multicultural country. Thank you so much for being here today. We really appreciate it. We're really excited. How has living in a diverse country changed your view of perfection?
I would say it has been really tough at the beginning. It was tough. But now I've actually adapted to the cultures here, how things are done. And I feel like it's very good now. And I understand more of how to do things here. And I feel like it's very free. It's a very free country. Like, it's not very strict, and it's good. I feel it's better.
That's awesome. What do you think the Canadian idea of perfection is?
So, I think it's just you can find a job after you graduate, and then like you can live a life, and like you have enough money to afford yourself, and like you get to go down vacation when there's a break, and that's perfect.
Young-hee, what do you think the Canadian idea of perfection is?
Having a good family and finding a good partner, and what else? Like being sociable in the college and have a good relationship with people, something like that. Yeah, I think so. Yes.
Have you ever felt pressure to change to match the Canadian idea of perfection? Sharinda?
It wasn't that hard, I would say, because it's very understanding here, and I felt it was pretty easy to get used to it.
What steps did you take to try to adapt yourself to Canadian culture?
Well, my experience, I would just say, like, my lifestyle back at home was pretty much what it was here in Canada. So I just wanted to, move into it wasn't very hard for me to just adapt to the cultures here. It was just really fun.
That's awesome.
I liked it.
I just wanted to thank you guys for coming in today. It's been really great. We really appreciate you coming here. Our web team is looking at how parental expectations influence their children's idea of success or the perfect life. So check that out on our website, INTERLIVING TV.
With different ethnicities comes different body types. In a world where most people search for quick fixes for their body, the pressures of looking perfect are always increasing. You're either too thin or not thin enough, or too muscular or not muscular enough. We went out and asked people what they think the perfect body is.
I mean, I guess how it's conveyed through magazines, TV nowadays, the ideal male body is, defined chest, rippling abs, that sort of thing.
Not so much supermodel skinny, but not so much Amazon fit.
I guess the perfect male body would be thin, athletic, a fit body.
The perfect female body is it's just like a woman who's really comfortable in herself and the way her body is, but also knows that she'll never be necessarily like perfect, or she'll have like the perfect figure, but is happy with her own imperfections and her own kind of very unique features and pieces of herself. So.
How about you guys? What do you consider the perfect body?
How if I know?
Well, I guess there's a lot of variations as to what the perfect body actually is. It's all about taste and perception, really. For me personally, I'm more into staying defined rather than bulking up and getting really muscular. But I guess it's different opinions, right?
I don't really subscribe to the idea of what a perfect body would look like. I like what was said at the end in terms of being happy with all of your flaws. I really do give props to all the bodybuilders, though, because that is true dedication.
Yeah, definitely. Bodybuilding definitely ups the game. Transforming your body is like one of the hardest, most challenging things for athletes today. And it takes a lot of discipline to get that perfect body. This is how one bodybuilder gets it done. Not just anyone can become a bodybuilder. It takes hard work and dedication, with long hours in the gym and even longer hours away from junk food. It's truly a mind and body game to compete, to win, to get that perfect body. One soon to be a bodybuilder knows what it takes and is here to talk to us about the amount of work that goes into becoming a bodybuilder and maintaining that perfect body. We have personal trainer Sean Everingham and bodybuilder Nick Rocha here to talk to us about what it takes to get that perfect body. Welcome, guys. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you so much for being here.
Not a problem.
We really appreciate it. So we'll just dive right in. I'll start with you, Nick. How many hours would you say you put in at the gym a week?
I would say probably between maybe 8 to 12, depending on how I feel in that week, how work went. 2 hours a day, 6 days a week, I'd say. Sometimes it's 7, but then I'd go into the overtraining realm. I try to keep it at 12 max, and even then I feel it's a little high.
Okay. Would you go as far as saying that you're obsessed with getting that perfect body?
I guess, yeah, I have a strong desire to get to my perfect body. I think everyone's idea what the perfect body is different. Mine's changed over the years, but yeah, okay, sure, why not? I'd say so.
Yeah, okay. We'll start with you again, Sean, there. So you train high-level athletes and bodybuilding competitors. Have you seen any changes in the bodybuilding industry?
Yeah, the unfortunate change I've seen is a move towards the use of steroids and other performance-enhancing drugs. It's kind of an unfortunate shift, but I think there's too many people out there looking at magazines and getting obsessed with that look and very easy access to drugs for these guys. So there's that unfortunate shift of people doing recreational bodybuilding and moving towards drugs.
Okay, and just on the topic of steroids that you mentioned, what are your thoughts on the use of steroids to achieve that perfect look?
I think it's ridiculous. I think they can help you get to that look, but as far as being able to maintain that look, as far as the health effects of it, I think it's horrendous. I think for athletes getting paid multi-millions of dollars, Olympic athletes, maybe that's kind of the name of the game, and at that level, maybe it's, you know, justifiable. But for anybody doing their local bodybuilding show or looking to get jacked for the club, I think it's a little ridiculous.
Okay. What about you, Nick? What are your thoughts on that?
I completely agree with Sean. So a professional athlete to heal an injury rather than being out for 6 months, you know, being back in the game 2-3 weeks, you know, using steroids for recovery. I can understand that. He's getting paid millions of dollars a year and the fans are expecting him. Recreational athletes, bodybuilders to do that, no, I think that's pretty stupid. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Going back to the changes in the industry, the bodybuilding industry, have you seen a push for more women going into that than men? Is it pretty equal? What have you seen?
I've definitely seen a lot more women come into the industry than before, with the introduction of a lot of new avenues for women to compete. I'm seeing they're likely outnumbering men at this point.
Really?
Yeah.
Didn't expect that.
Oh yeah, they have the bikini level and then the figure and then physique, I think. Yeah.
Fitness model and some of the other organizations, so
Quite
a lot
of
more
bikini.
avenues for them to be a part of the industry.
Yep.
Okay. Can you tell me some of the challenges of trying to achieve that perfect body as a bodybuilder? We'll start with you, Nick.
Just discipline and consistency. Waking up in the morning, sometimes I just want to sleep in before I go to work. And I have to wake up early and have my meal, eat every couple hours, stay on track. It's difficult, but it's rewarding and I enjoy it. It's a lifestyle. It is a lifestyle. There's no way about it. Other way about it.
What about you, Sean?
The challenge is, yeah, it's hard. It requires discipline in a lot of different aspects. You know, the diet is probably one of the biggest areas that you've got to have discipline in, and sometimes it means forgoing social engagements, or even if you don't, getting a drink with your buddies or pig out with your buddies. So, you know, I'd say that's the biggest challenge. The working out is the easy part.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what's coming up for you, Nick? What competitions are you trying to get into right now?
Well, I would have my first competition actually in May 14th for regional level. So that's like the lowest level, but it would be my first competition as a bodybuilder. I'm not sure if I'm ready for that one yet though, so I might just push that into another one. I think September. The date not on top of my head, but the one that's closest would be May 14th, and that's regional level.
Awesome. Well, good luck with that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate that. Was really great information that you guys just gave us. Thank you.
No problem.
If you guys would like to transform your body, you can contact Sean via Twitter at Sean Everingham. And we're going to head back over to the desk to talk more about what a perfect body entails.
That's right, Crystal. I think, you know, people, we want to be perfect because we think that's going to lead to the perfect life. We're going to get that personal achievement. Personal achievement is interesting because it's what makes us feel tingly inside.
Yeah.
It's the thing you take pride in, the thing that is making your life perfect. But the thing is, what really is a perfect life?
Based on the American dream version of that, perfect life would be enough money to support yourself and to raise a family.
Basically, getting paid to do something you love would be ideal.
I think perfection isn't actually a thing. I think it's more of a pursuit, like the pursuit of happiness.
And I'd say that being incredibly happy with your job would be definitely one of the major factors.
I mean, money will bring you a lot of things, but it's not going to bring you happiness.
Living in a safe community like Canada, we pretty much hit the jackpot with a safe community here.
You strive for perfection, but you'll never actually achieve it in this lifetime.
Some really interesting answers. I know for me, my education and financial stability has probably been what I want to be my personal achievement, but that's really shifted recently with like health and stuff. Now I think it's health and charitable work and building relationships. What about you guys? What is it, your personal achievement?
Until this point in my life, I'd say my greatest personal achievement was representing Canada at an international level in soccer, age 15. That's pretty cool.
That's great.
A lot of pressure, but it was it was a good attention and a lot of support on our shoulders. So it's something that always puts a smile on my face. But ideally, becoming a sports host or soccer host and driving my dream car is like the personal achievement goal.
It's such a hard question for me because I honestly feel like my biggest personal achievement is yet to come. To be honest, I just hope to be able to cover stories about things that people truly need to be informed about, and I think that will be my greatest personal achievement.
Yeah. For me, making the decision to go back to school was a pretty big one. I was out in the workforce for like 10 years after high school, so coming back was tough. Best decision I've ever made, though, for sure. But I was at a point in my life where I needed a career that made me happy, just not working a regular job. I needed a career. So for me, graduating would definitely be on the list of personal achievements, and I cannot wait to add more to that list.
Oh yes, we're gonna add so much more. Well, I actually spent some time with a woman, a fitness guru, and similar to you, Crystal, she gave up a high-end paying job in information technology to work on fitness and spend more time with her family. Take a look. How does one achieve personal achievement in a society concerned with perfection? Is it when one finally drives away in their new luxury car? Or pulls into their driveway through iron gates with a 3-door garage awaiting as the final destination? Business Directory defines the need for achievement as a personality trait focused on enduring and consistent concern with setting and meeting high standards of achievement. When is enough enough? How do we realize it? Maha Abdullah thought a 6-figure job, expensive cars, an office and computers would bring happiness because of her success and acceptance from her family. It was when Maha had a family of her own that she realized what personal achievement really means to her. By leaving the IT world and starting her own fitness class in Oakville, Ontario, Maha is able to help perfect the personal goals of individuals while finding personal achievement in her own life. Whether it's through instructing one-on-one, group sessions, or working out on her own, Maha's vision of personal achievement takes a step forward daily. Before Maha Abdullah joins her class members to break a sweat, she has joined us today to share her story on the pursuit for perfection and personal achievement. Thank you for joining us today on INTERLIVING, Maha. We really appreciate it.
No problem, my
honestly, and working with our schedules. So, of course, this episode is about perfection, and we wanted to talk about personal achievement. And you have such a great story that connects to that because we want to know what is personal achievement, and when we're pursuing that personal achievement that we want, we're pursuing perfection in a sense as well. Growing up versus now, how did you view personal achievement?
I'm Middle Eastern, and that's going to affect a lot of my questions and answers. Growing up, pride, we grow up on pride. We grow up on personal achievements of our families and my parents and what they want from life. We have to get that, not us. Yeah. So I grew up, I have to do the best I can. I have to go get it. This is not enough. Try harder. You have to be the best in class, the best in this. So maybe I took out of that I always have to try harder. But personal achievements growing up was to please my mom and dad.
You have to be almost like the perfect daughter.
I have to.
And it's almost like, did you feel like your view of perfection, it wasn't even Maha's view, it was what your parents' view was, and so
how can I make them happy?
Right.
How can I please? How can I match their expectations? Successful life looks to me as happiness. You have to be happy. You can be happy with $1 and you can be happy with limitless money. You can be happy if you achieved what you want, what you have. You love what you have, right? Not have what you love, because that sets more expectations for you just to go out and seek more. Yeah. So just happiness, love.
When did you figure that out? Like, when did you figure out what success meant to you versus what? Because when we're growing up, we kind of just do what our parents say and kind of believe what our parents believe, and then it kind of, there's that point where you're like, I could have my own beliefs and my own thoughts. When did that hit for you?
So I graduated and I worked, and then I started then as another slow journey of discovering that I'm not really enjoying my job as much as I am It's a great company. It's one of the big 5. My title is amazing. My dad is proud of me. He keeps saying, my daughter works at this company. You know?
So you have this success, you have this job, you've graduated university, and you kind of have that independence in a sense because you are away from your parents, but still there wasn't that personal achievement for you. So why did you change careers even though it was viewed as perfect?
I loved staying home with my son. I learned a lot. I shifted from studying and working hard in IT to books and courses about loving limits and terrible twos and prenatal classes. And I dragged my husband to a couple of them, and you know, and it was a joy. He was my pride and joy, and you find that you can always love. You can always love more and more and more, you know?
Yeah. And now, 16 years later, your son is 16 now. What advice would you give to your 16-year-old son or me who's 22, like to this generation, especially when we're right in this moment of the economy and it seems like I need to make enough money for this, and I don't know what the right age is to be a mother, and I don't know if I want to do more schooling. What advice do you have for this younger generation as they strive to find their personal achievement but are also battling being perfect, maybe being perfect to others or being perfect to themselves?
My best advice is always take a deep breath. Never take a decision unless you count it to 10. And always have a piece of paper, have advantages and disadvantages of any decision you want to make. When you sit down and write these down, a lot of things will become clearer to you, and then you will always struggle. And if you didn't struggle, then you will never feel the achievement of success. When I decided to change my career, I was like, I had every single bad phone call from my mom, from my dad, from everybody doing, what are you doing? Are you crazy? But then I went with my guts. First, I sat 6 years of my life at home, enjoying my kids because I had a girl after my son. And I became the best mother I can for them. And then while they're growing, it's easier for me, I started studying to change my career because I don't want to as well change my career and start, weak. So you have to take chances in life. You have to take a deep breath. Like our previous conversation, like when you graduate, go into life, start something. It will give you a better insight of, I'm gonna do that, but go to this section, or I'm not going to do that, I'm going to go back and study. Go into situations, carefully of course, and try things and weigh the pros and cons, and everything has pros and cons. Nothing is perfect. Exactly. Being in the middle and happy is perfect. That's the perfect. Up high is not the perfect. Doesn't exist.
So what is the perfect life? Is it the life you're living now?
Perfect life is to wake up in the morning with no pain. Can you believe that?
Yeah.
Perfect life, a lot of people would say, oh, if I have a fancy car, if I have a bigger house, if, what's perfect life? If you're healthy, if you wake up and you have everything working, that's the perfect life. Because with your healthy body, you can actually go and achieve your perfect and happy life. It's the truth.
Thank you so much. You answered everything so well. You need to teach me the working out, but honestly, that was so great and so inspiring, and it gives a whole new perspective onto perfection and achieving a personal achievement. And you've calmed me down a little bit before the graduation. So thank you so much, Maha, for joining us. Back to you in the studio. So as we can see from Maha and our other guests, perfection comes from all different types of point of views. I don't know about you guys, but I don't think I'm trying to be perfect. I'm just trying to be Maliba.
Yes.
Yes, girl. That's very true. Honestly, I think perfection is subjective. What I might think is perfect, you guys might think is horrible. Everybody has their own opinion on what perfect is. And for me, I think striving for excellence can motivate you,
Yes.
but striving for perfection can be discouraging.
And I honestly agree when you say that perfection is so subjective. It's something that I think we're always chasing, but you're never going to be able to truly experience. And honestly, I'm kind of glad for that. In the global community that we live in today, it's really important to recognize that there's multiple viewpoints.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's always opinions, right? So everybody's going to have different viewpoints on perfection. It's never going to be an exact definition, right? As Crystal said.
Yep.
Absolutely. Always going to be different point of views, and we want to know yours. Make sure to check out our Twitter and Facebook and sound off on what you think perfection is. And check out our website at INTERLIVING TV.
That's all the time we have for today. I'd just like to thank all of us here at INTERLIVING TV, as well as our guests. They've been a massive help for this amazing show. We'd like to thank you very much. Take care.
Bye.
That was awesome, guys.
Yeah. So what are the plans?